Okay, good morning, everyone. Nice to see lots of people joining us today.
Good morning.
Morning, Alberto.
This
Nice
is
to
Albert
see
from
you.
Barcelona. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I've just made you a co-host, Albert, for the meeting if ever you need it.
I'm trying to connect with my PC, my laptop. So I think I will leave this mobile connection and I will continue by my laptop. Okay?
Okay, perfect.
Don't worry. Thank you.
No worries. Okay. So once more, good morning. Welcome to this Gender Equality Task Force meeting. I'll slowly begin to start so that we respect the time, as I've asked the speakers to also respect the time, so I must do the same. I'm very happy oh, excuse me. The slideshow is having a slight issue. Oh. Okay. Is everyone able to see my screen? Yes, perfect. Okay. Great. So we can begin then. That's fine. Wonderful. Great to see so many of you, although I can only see some on the side, but I'm looking forward to seeing you all later when we have more discussions. So we're very happy on behalf of IRLAL to be hosting this session for the Gender Equality Task Force. IRLAL is the European Association of Regional and Local Authorities for Lifelong Learning. And my name is Charlotte, and I'm very happy today to be moderating and walking us through this session. So we'll first start perhaps with an introduction for what the Gender Equality Task Force is, for those of you who don't know or are interested in finding out. The Gender Equality Task Force was created in 2023, in January of last year, with 3 organizations, of which one of them is us, and 2 of them are based in Brussels as well, the European Forum of Technical and Vocational Education and Training, and also the European Association for the Education of Adults. And the idea of the task force is to support gender balanced participation in lifelong learning and equal access and rights for all. In 2023, we held 4 sessions. The first one was an introduction, and we looked at different figures about adult learning and education participation from a gendered perspective, also in vocational educational training. Then we had a session on guidance from a gendered perspective and ways in which that adverts, etc., could influence upon gendered recruiting. Then in October of last year, we held a workshop in Brussels on micro-credentials and their ability to tackle the green transition from a gendered perspective. And finally, in November, we held a webinar on safe spaces. If you're interested in finding out more, we have a website page now for it under irlal.eu/activities/gender equality task force, where you can find the reports or presentations if any of those sound interesting to you. So let's walk through the agenda for today. We will do a little presentation on where we are in the EU now, global figures of gender equality and employment, and why that's important to set up the understanding of this webinar for today. Then we'll be hearing about gender balance in the digital sector from the Centre Val de Loire. Then we'll look at the industrial sector from the perspective of Catalonia, looking at roles of women in leadership in also these sectors from the Basque Country. And then we'll be looking at how regional authorities can combat these stereotypes in their own work from an example here in Brussels. We'll also have some questions and answers, and we encourage you, and this is my reminder to everyone, that you're more than welcome to write questions in the chat or to write them on a piece of paper and keep your notes. We'd like to really encourage you to ask as much as you would like, and then we'll close up. So if we're looking at gender equality in employment and education, the idea is that we want to understand what the figures are, but we will also be presented some regional examples and figures throughout from the 4 regions that we'll be speaking. So this is just to paint the overall picture. So in terms of where we are in gender equality in employment. In the EU in 2021, the unemployment rate of people aged between 15 and 74 was 7.4% for women and 6.7% for men. And you can see the different levels and how this obviously changes throughout the countries and even more on a regional level. And then, which will be something that will be tackled, I believe, in particular by the region of Brussels from the last presentation. We also have different figures on gender equality in managerial positions. And what's interesting is that men generally occupy higher positions than women. For example, one can see here that for the overall EU, women account for just slightly over a third of managerial positions, and in no country do they attribute for more than half. And then in terms of education, which of course is strongly linked to overall employment, we see that in primary, secondary level of education, we have very similar levels, and we have 3.6% more men than women in upper secondary education, but we have 5.2% more women in tertiary education. And this is interesting also when we look from education from a lifelong learning perspective, so not just obligatory education, but also in terms of adult learning, for example. And I permitted myself to reshare one of the sets of information that was shared in our first or second webinar from the Gender Equality Task Force by the European Association for the Education of Adults, just to look at gender equality in adult education. So in terms of the figures of who's participating in adult learning, 11.6% of adult learners are women and 10.1% are men. This is from 2021. And most of them are likely to have a tertiary education potentially linked to the information we saw before. And also, according to the EONTIS Gender and Learning Study, EONTIS is the Irish adult education learning institution, that men are more wary of adult education when it's not focused directly on their employment. And for example, retired men are the ones who are least likely to participate. So just to set up why we're interested also in this webinar and why we're here today and happy to see you, is that the benefits of gender balance are not just in terms of social equality, but also important from a labor perspective. And again, this is something I'm resharing from our honorary member, Sylvia Luthi, in the Gender Equality Task Force, that this is from the International Labour Organization Enterprise Survey from 2018. And these figures that you see highlighted are the probability of achieving certain benchmarkers when you have an inclusive business culture, including gender equality. So, for example, there's an increased profitability and productivity, an enhanced ability to attract and retain talent, greater creative innovation and openness, and enhanced company reputation. And also, interestingly, when we spoke about managerial positions, you see that when boards are gender balanced, companies are almost 20% more likely to have enhanced business outcomes. So it's just important to frame that this question of education and employment is not just from a societal perspective, but also it's beneficial for the labor market. So just to frame it. So why are we focusing on regional and local authorities? Well, during the European Week of Regions and Cities, we held a workshop on the role of micro-credentials in tackling the green perspective from a gendered transition, from a gendered perspective. This is one example. And this here we can see Oscar from the Regional Ministry of Education in Catalonia on the left, smiling with us on that day and hopefully smiling with us today as he'll ask questions to our speakers. And he gave the example of Catalonia, which very much so spurred on this inspiration from other innovative examples. And in a similar period in November, we were also invited to the Centre Val de Loire's session on women in the digital sector that they held in the Committee of Regions here in Brussels, which we can see at the bottom. And we launched a discussion with our members of the network, and we saw that there were lots of members who were very interested in sharing their very innovative ideas. So this is how we've come about to this webinar and why we're interested in this subject. So I will now take the opportunity to launch a small little Mentimeter just to get us warm, to get us a bit involved, participative in this webinar. So I invite you all to go on to menti.com and to use the code which is at the top of this screen, which is 54465146, or alternatively, you can use your phones to scan directly the screen. And you can take part in this webinar, which is regional and local authorities, this is the statement, are able to vastly impact on gender equality in jobs and in education. Do you strongly disagree or do you strongly agree? And you can place yourself anywhere in the sector. So we already have some results. The middle, always a good ground to cover. Perfect. I leave you to consider for a moment, because at the end we'll also do a small interactive. We would like your feedback on the session at the end. So this is great. Okay. You can continue filling that in and we can come back to it later, just for you to also consider, and hopefully that perspective might change after the webinar. So with that in mind, we'd like to pass on to the gender equality in education and employment best practices. And I will start by introducing the Centre Val de Loire and the team of them that will be speaking today and presenting the first section of the day. So first we'll be speaking is Katia Lacour, who is a trainer and responsible for gender diversity. No, excuse me, it won't be Katia Lacour, it will be Nathalie, who is the Director of Data Support, Steering and Transitions at the Centre Val de Loire. And this is a department that's cross-cutting and it deals with issues such as the twin transition, societal transformation, and including gender equality. So I will share with you the next slide and leave the word to Nathalie.
Thank you, Charlotte. Hi, everybody. First, I'm really sorry, but I will have to leave you at 11 for another meeting. So really sorry for that. I'd just like to introduce the way in which the subject of gender equality is managed by our region in a general way. Firstly, the Centre Val de Loire region has long been involved against all forms of discrimination and in the promotion of equality, including disability, solidarity, gender equality, etc. Our region drew up its first equality plan in 2018, and in 2021, the new region's elected representative decided to create a specific vice presidency for gender equality. Her name is Magali Bessard. She is our vice president dedicated to gender equality. And by the way, she apologizes for not being with us today. The decision to focus specifically on the issue of gender equality and not just as part of an overall approach to all equality issues is a strong marker for our region. This made possible to specifically challenge all our public policies from this point of view. In June 2023, after 18 months of work and consultation with the region's MPs, with associations and companies, the Regional Council unanimously voted a specific roadmap for gender equality with 3 strategic guidelines for the next 4 years. These 3 strategic guidelines are a culture of equality and mutual respect. Secondly, women's autonomy and access to rights. And third way, preventing and combating sexist and sexual stereotypes and violence. In this roadmap, we have a specific goal to promote gender diversity in the digital sector. Additionally, gender equality has been also integrated in our digital strategy, which was adopted in 2022 as part of our integrated approach of the gender equality subject. And finally, I would like to mention that we have a regional digital council, which is an advisory body that brings together companies, associations, and local authorities action to the regions. Their first initiative is to set up a network of ambassadors for women in the digital sector, and they plan to launch this action in 2024, this year. And I now leave my colleagues in vocational training illustrate some specific actions for gender equality in the digital sector. That's Liz.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Natalie, for your presentation. And hopefully we'll come back with some questions for you in a moment. But I, of course, have the question that sets up the present. Sorry. I'll just pop you on mute. So I have a question for the Centre Val de Loire, which is how can regional authorities encourage girls to join careers in the digital sector? And for the two speakers for that, I present them to you. We will have Lise Sherif, who, after her studies in political science, is a policy officer in the VET department at the region Centre Val de Loire. And I was very interested to find out that on a personal level, she's interested in gender equality, having written her thesis on female African politicians at the Sciences Po in Bordeaux before gender studies were mainstreamed in France. So from a professional and personal level, it will be very interesting to hear from you, Lise. And then we also have Katia Lacour, who, after professional reconversion, is a trainer and responsible for gender diversity at a training organization which is focused in the fields of tech, which is called CEFIM. And I will start by sharing the presentation for Lise, I believe. Perfect.
Yes.
Wonderful. There you are. I will share that for you as I'll do it like this.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Please excuse my French accent in the English. I propose you to examine two issues at stake, a few figures on the digital sector in the region Centre-Val de Loire, and second point, how to implement the regional roadmap for gender equality. Next. Reviews encore. Before, yes, okay. First, I propose you a quick look and few data on the digital sector in the region Centre. Let's examine the age pyramid on the left concerning the region Centre Val de Loire. In red, women. As we used to say in French, les images parlent d'elles-mêmes. The picture speaks itself. About 2/3 of employees in the digital sector are men. Second point, let's have a look at the figures in the blue encadré on the right to see that digital is an expanding sector, about 40 points a year for the job offers. There is a growing demand on that sector, whatever the observatory you take, wherever the data comes from. Digital is an expanding and male sector. Next. Okay, thank you. Let's have a look now on what happened in training. A look at two kinds of regional trainings. 66% of women are trainees in the classic office suite trainings, that is how to use a computer. But only a fifth, 1 out of 5 person are women in the hard digital sector trainings. This data comes from our department data concerning job seekers training in Région Centre Val de Loire. There's no difference from national data because this gender data correspond to the general environment, which is about 70% in the hard digital professions in France. And unfortunately, really very unfortunately, the higher the technicity, the less women are present. I'm very, very sorry, but the trend is the same in the Région Centre in France, except for one single learning center, that is the CEFIM, and I'm glad CEFIM is here with us today. Next. Last slide to try to sum up the things. Digital in the Région Centre-Val de Loire is a growing strategic sector with few women, and setting out the priorities of the regional strategy for gender equality by acting is a strong challenge. How? Well, by declining the actions of the Equality Group of the Regional Digital Council, including economic players, enterprises, initial and vocational learning centers, in order to identify and support good practices, and in order to experiment and innovate in methods. How? By integrating double diversity and equality in the public engagement, by examples dissemination, and by incentive actions for women, and acts on the theme of double mixing, that is double mixité in French, and equality. And of course, act over time, over a long period of time. A strong work of awareness is to be continued in link with the digital strategy. We really believe in communication by the dissemination of examples as a strong axis of change. And to this subject, I have the pleasure to leave the floor to Katia Lacourte-Sefim for its inspiring actions, changing the trend. Next, thank you for your attention. I leave the floor to Katia.
Thank you for having me. I'm here to present what we're trying to do, the good practices we're doing at CEFIM. Just for a brief introduction of the school, we specialize in vocational training in the tech field, and we've been operating for 20 years now in three main fields, particularly the network infrastructure, excuse my French, web and IT development, and web marketing and data. These are the three main fields in which we operate. Next. So we realize that there's quite huge discrepancies in the gender diversity in those three fields. What we see when we welcome candidates in our school, not students, candidates in our school, is that in the network infrastructure, we have like 1 woman out of 10 men that we welcome, because it's really, really technical, and it's not a field that's really attractive to women for now. In the web and IT development, it's more diverse. In the web development, it's like 30% of our candidates are women, because it's really technical. But in the web design field, it's more 80% of women for the creative aspect of the field. And in web marketing and data, which is our more diverse and gender diverse field, is like 50 to 60% women, because it's both technical and creative. So we have a wide range of profiles in this in this field particularly. Next. So given that, we know that we have difficulties attracting women. So we are trying to, in our process for our candidates, not to have biases against women. So we have 3 steps for our recruitment. The first one is we have technical challenges online. Normally, we don't care if it's a woman or a man. They have those challenges they have to pass, and when it's done, we know that they have the capabilities to enter the school, or at least to follow up on the recruitment. So the next step is an interview with one of our career counselors. We have 3, 2 of which are women. So we hope that this helps with the biases that we may have. And then those interviews are centered on capabilities and not gender. since we already made clear that they had what it takes to enter school. And the third step would be to have this 1 week where we test the candidates, and we test them on hard skills and soft skills, the way they interact with each other. And we are really, really focused on the way they interact, because we want to make sure that they all will work and study together pretty well. So we're really looking after a good integration in that part. So the numbers that I gave you when they enter as candidates and when they enter school is pretty much the same. The ratios stay pretty much the same. So I think in that area, we managed to retain the most women possible. Next. So now that they're on campus, what do we do to make sure that they're feeling great where they are? First, we have gender advisors. I'm one of them. We are two at that school, me and my colleague, which is a male, because gender equality, and because we know that it's going to be easier for a woman to speak to a woman and to a man to speak with a man, because for us gender equality is not is making sure that everyone feels at ease at the school, not just women and men alike. So we have those gender advisors. We focus on gender equality and sexual violence because we know it's important. We have on an online campus with a lot of resources on gender equality, resources, videos, contacts, procedures, whatever they need to make sure that it's handled properly. And we also have online workshops with the students, the co-op, and the tutors, the in-company tutors, because we work a lot with companies to make sure that every single one of them understand where we come from and what we want to do, meaning an environment that is safe for everyone. Next. Thank you. For that purpose, we have different ways to communicate what we do. Internally, we try to give role models in the tech industries to our students. So we made all those posters that we have throughout the school. We named a few of our classrooms with important women from the from the tech. And externally, we try to participate in events. So we have the startup weekend that we organized in 2022. That was specifically for women, so all women. We have the Code Weeks, of course, that we organize as well, in which we have a lot of young girls that can practice with robots, with computing, with programming. They learn a lot. And we try to we try to talk to as much women, as much girls as possible in schools to make the word that they're welcome, they have what it takes to enter this school and to enter those jobs. Next. Yes. So what we see once they completed, once all our students completed their training, is that when it comes to employment, we have quite the same ratios, women and men alike. It's like between 65 and 70% of employment in our students in the 6 months before, after the training. Those numbers are 6 months after the end of the training session. We see that we have like 65 women that are women that are employed and 69% of men. So we think that's a good ratio. It's no many discrepancies. So that's what we do as a school to make sure that everyone feels comfortable. We have a lot of things that we would do to make sure that more women come to the school, but I mean, we have many things that we're trying to think in terms of communication. We also have a lot of information on our website to make sure that they feel welcome. I think that's all for me. Yeah, question. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. That was very interesting to hear, both from the region and from the specific example of Sefin. I pass, if there's a question from Oscar, perhaps, I pass to him to ask.
Yes. Bonjour, Natalie, Liz, and Katia. Just very quickly, Natalie, you mentioned the figure of the ambassador, which is something that we also have here in Catalonia. You know that because I talked about this in Brussels last year, and because we believe, I suppose, like you do, that peer-to-peer communication is more effective than any other kind of communication. Could you please tell us a little bit about this figure of the ambassador, and has it proven to be effective?
Yes, well, the reflection is just the beginning for our regional digital council, but they just worked first on the principles of this network, and the debates. One of the debates was on the how do you say, if the network is open to men or not. And that was a debate for the members of the digital council, and the principle is to open this network both to men and women, to have ambassadors that lead the same message for gender inequality. Well, that's the first principle. And then now they are working on how they can search people, members, digital professional that will lead this role of ambassador. That's the second step for their work. And they just begin this in the beginning of this year. So I can say more in what it will, what forms it will take.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
And it's an interesting question. It's also one that I noted, Oscar. So good to see that the interest is there. So now I will be very interested to hear from Catalonia, from the Escuela de Treball, which is, I believe, translated to the School of Labor in Spanish. And it's based in Catalonia. And today we have two speakers. We have Alberto Piero, who is the head of studies and responsible for Joule and Erasmus Plus, and also Laura Barrasso, who is a vocational educational training teacher working in the government of Catalonia. I will be sharing the screen for you, Albert. Is that what you would like? Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, please, Albert.
And the question that I wanted to also specifically ask that frames your presentation will be, in what ways can regions encourage girls to work in industrial sectors? So we're moving from the digital to industrial. I will go ahead and share my screen.
I will start. Thank you very much for having us here with you. It's a pleasure for us to let us show you what we are trying to develop in our institution, in our vocational center in Barcelona. Thank you also, Oscar, for proposing us to be here today with you. My name is Albert Peiro, and there is also Laura Barroso with me. We will try to explain you what we are doing
to try to attract female talent at our vocational center. First of all, I would like to introduce what Escola del Treball is. No, we are an educational center, vocational center in Barcelona, and I think we are one of the biggest public vocational centers providers in Catalonia. We are about 3,000 students, and we have 10 different occupational families, professional families, and we have special relevance in the industrial sector. We also have digital studies, and we are sharing, I think, a lot of the same problems that Natalie, Liz, and Katia explained just right now. And I think it will be interesting after that to, in the future, to contact with Katia, Liz, and Natalie to share its experience. Escola del Treball, well, we are basically developing studies in industrial sector, and we are belonging to a Spanish network called Centers of Excellence for vocational training in automatic manufacturing, and we also belong to a European network called COVE, Center of Vocational Excellence, together with the Catalan Department of Education, with Oscar and their colleagues, and we are developing a new project to reformulate the curricular content of vocational training in advanced manufacturing. That's a brief introduction of our institution. Charlotte, next, please. So, talking about good practices, we start a new project. I think in January 2023, last year, it's 1 year ago. So I think it's the same birth with this project. Our project is called EDT Women Days. EDT stands for Escola del Treball, that is School of Work or labor school. And our project our strategy is to promote gender equality in this project. And the mission of EDT Women Days to recruit female talent for industrial and digital professional families by empowering them to make their own decisions beyond stereotypes and social pressures. We are starting this project and in our center, but we would like also to extend this project in Catalonia with the help of the regional government, Departament de Educació de Catalunya. Next slide, please, Charlotte. This project, EDT Women Days, why or what is the importance of recruiting female talent in these sectors? We think that it's crucial because if not, we are wasting a big part of human resources if women are not motivated to occupy these job positions. Nowadays, at the Escola del Treball, we have women represent about 4% of the total presence. It's less, I think, than that Liz, Natalie, and Katia showed in their slide. This project aims to work with the goal number 5 of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, that is achieve gender equality and empower all women girls. Next, please, Charlotte. Well, this project started in January 2023, and it was because we decided to present a project to a call for grants coming from a private association related to a bank, CaixaBank Dualiza. Our project was related to mentoring in order to attract female talent, won a prize of 2,000 euros. So it was a good beginning for us. Next, please, Charlotte. In April 2023, we started but recruiting female students and teachers using Google Forms. We were asking some questions about different items, trying to recruit female teachers and female students interested in participating in this project. Yes, we received so not much responses, but enough to create a first step in this project. We decided to make some photographs and videos to try to disseminate this project. Those are these pictures of students who decided to participate in this project. All the students are from our school, from our vocational center. Please, next slide. And in May 2023, we make the official presentation of the project at our school with the female teachers and female students that were interested in participating in this project. And then we decided, we started the dissemination process through the social media. Please, next, Charlotte. And in October 23, so 3 or 4 months ago, we decided to give to the project a better corporate image. So we decided to make better photos and better videos to disseminate to the society. Okay, so those are posters we created with the help of our graphical arts department at the Escola del Treball, and those are students who are nowadays studying with us at the Escola del Treball, and we think that this is a good way to promote the attraction of female talent to our school in this industrial studies. For example, the first one she is a welder. The second one she is mechanical, and the third picture we have some girls that are studying construction. There is in this field, it was not normal to have 6 girls studying these studies of construction, and the last one is studying wood and furniture. Okay. Next slide. We also asked for the help of another school called Escola de Mitjans Audiovisuals, and the students of this school helped us to create some videos and some photographs. And here you can see a picture of these students helping us to make a video of a student of us. We have also created some merchandising like T-shirts and many objects to promote this project. Can you please next? Thank you, Charlotte. And also we make a second dissemination campaign by promoting our idea to the TV and press to make it more visual, or to make it known to the society around Barcelona. Okay. And next, please. In December, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we also organized a conference called Female Talent at Industry 4.0. And in this conference, there were 30 people, including female students, teachers, employers, and representatives of the public administration, dealing with the current situation of female talent in the industrial sector, and discussing about some strategies that we can apply to make women study these industrial professional jobs. Okay, and next, please. Okay, now there is actions to come. We would like to create a website specific for this project. We are also working on a tasting of crafts for female students from 11 to 14 years old. We would like that our students, our female students, go into the schools into the primary and secondary schools to explain their initiative or their life and why they decided to study these industrial professions. And in this way, we think that they can motivate the young students to do the same. And also, we would like to bring these young girls from 11 to 14 years old to our vocational center to do some works in our workshops, not dangerous, but some tasting of crafts, so they can be interested in studying what these industrial studies. Okay. And the other thing that we are looking for is finding sponsors also, because I think we need also money to develop our strategy of communication and dissemination of this project. I don't know if I have forgotten something important, Laura. If you think that there is something to add to our practice, you can tell to the rest of the people. Please, Laura.
Good morning to everybody, first of all, and thanks, Albert, because I think that you have explained all of the project more or less. Maybe the only thing that I can add with all of this is that we are now beginning in this, but we've got the aim to arrive also to other target of students that are these ones that are taking before years their studies, the adults. And we are now beginning to try to focus also in this kind of people that have less opportunities than maybe others. And thank you to all people that have explained your experiences before. Thanks.
So I think, thank you, Laura. I think it's very important for us to be here because we are starting this project. So
exactly.
We can learn a lot of you, but we are also interested in show you what we are doing. Okay, we also have a gender advisory team this year, conformed by three teachers that are helping us with this project. But we don't have too much experience, so it will be a pleasure after that to contact with some of you to help us.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you too. That was really very interesting. And in ELAL, we also have a project on Learning Centre Advanced Manufacturing Platform. So it's also an industry that we're interested in, and we're hearing about your examples because we know that's a challenge. Oscar, although you're working with the Escuela, do you have a question?
Yes, very quickly.
Perfect.
Bon dia, Laura y Albert. Escola del Treball has a really good reputation, not only in Barcelona, but in Catalonia, Spain, and even outside Spain. Let's not forget that Albert Einstein visited it 100 years ago now. So despite this really good reputation that you've got, how do you explain that only 4% of your students are female students of digital and industrial studies? Do you have an answer for that? I know it's a difficult thing to, there are many reasons, but could you explain that, please?
I'm losing your connection, Oscar.
Now, yes, you were frozen for a little bit, but now you're okay. Yes, Albert? Have we got a problem with the connection?
Yes, I didn't. But I think you are asking why. Yeah, there is only 4%.
Why only 4% of female students? Yeah.
I think there's some stereotypes that we have to change. I don't know if in Catalonia or Spain or in the south of Europe. Maybe I don't know how it is in the rest of the world in Europe. But I think it's a question of cultural changing. No, I think people is thinking that this kind of jobs, like be a welder, to be working in a construction, to work in digital and IT, is things for men and not women. And we're watching only. I think it's our education when we were young was this way. So I think it's that we should change. It's I don't know why, but initiatives like this, I think, can achieve to make a change of the direction of this stereotype, no? To eliminate this stereotype. I don't know. I think it's cultural, and we are here to avoid this stereotypes. No? Mm-hmm.
Yes, and of course we've got this proposal, no, to show to the young girls that there are some kinds of jobs that exist, because maybe they don't know it. So we've got to show it and explain that not only men could do this. So it's the first step to show that exists.
And I think that's the reason, because we were trying to go to the primary and secondary schools where students have only 10, 11 years, to start explaining what these girls that we have in our school are doing. Because I think that's one correct or an effective way to make these young girls change their minds, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to you both. And of course, it's also a particularly challenging field. And speaking on that, we will have another presentation about the industrial fields in STEAM from the Basque Country. So that will be interesting as an opportunity to compare. So I'm very pleased to have with us today Esther Elixgare, who is the director of the IRETA Integrated Vocational Training Center in the Basque Country, having previously been head of studies there, and also working on the presentation is mechanical engineer by training, Yosune, who is now the digital promoter at Miguel Altuna Center, also in the Basque Country, and was the first female director at the center and first female president of the network of public vocational training centers. So we're very much so looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Well, our presentation is at Teams 1, even if I'm going to speak. And the question is, how can Basque vocational education training encourage girls and women to assume leadership positions in the STEAM cycles and also in the industrial ones? One place. We have here a little content. So first one, we will try to contextualize with some data and figures the daily reality of Basque vocational education training. The next one will be that our starting point. I'm not going to make them spoilers. The third one will be the real answer to the main question. And finally, we have a little bit conclusion about this, a very brief one. So a brief background will be to talk about the figures, no? Just by way of introduction, I have to say that the presence of women in STEAM programs does not reach even the 25% in STEAM programs, and the figure is even lower, less than 15% in the industrial areas. So, so you have here more extended figures and numbers, but to deepen the gap, we can observe really that almost an inverse relationship between female gender presence and employability. It has been said yet, but in Basque Country it's the same, that the higher the employability of the cycle, the lower the presence of women. So this is the problem. And not only this, because there is a clear gender bias that seems to relate services such as care or aesthetic and like this to women exclusively, while industry and engineering seem to be reserved to men. And we observe the same trend. In general, the cycles linked to professions with high employability and better salaries, we have to say, are highly masculinized, and the presence of women is almost testimonial. So, which is our starting point in this context and with this background. Yosune and I not only share the same background, which is markedly industrialized and lacking in female leadership references, we also share the same vision about leadership, which starts with a first step. We strongly believe this. Just believing in yourself, because you're going to be almost alone, or you are going to be a minority. However, it could be really difficult to feel confident and empowered in a context in which you are almost alone, at least a blatant minority. You can't even find a role model to look up to. The same names, we have put some of them here, are mentioned recurrently, but maybe the students do not perceive them as a close referent, which with due respect to examples like Marie Curie. Our vision of leadership does not circumscribe it to high positions of great responsibility, but extends it to every girl and woman in terms of empowerment to face challenges and make decisions in academic and professional fields, and ultimately in any aspect of their lives. So we are talking about a cross-cutting leadership that empower young girls and women to break into unexplored education and professional fields, because it has been told by my colleagues in Catalonia that cliches and stereotypes, even in the primary school, are a big problem we have to face too. So we think that vocational education needs female pioneers, and then in turn will be role models for many others. So we want to reverse the big statistics from the sum of small statistics. This individual and transversal leadership is not necessarily linked to positions of power, but the capacity of decide freely, knowing that one is in a minority without having to justify one's decisions to those who do not understand or disapprove of them. And sometimes we have to say that we are talking about the family or close friends. This is the kind of leadership that can help break down cliches and stereotypes. So there is the great question: how to reverse gender statistics through vocational education training, no? And this is precisely where we say well, we have three lines, and one of them is to listen. The other one will be to listen to the real voices of girls and of even in the primary school of the students. and then to collect and to disseminate them, and finally to take action. Well, we cannot deep into the details of best practices, but we have chosen some of them, just an example of them. No, the first one will be Somos las FP. This is precisely where we saw a first job to be done, which is listening, and we realized that the real voices deserved to be heard, and thus created this web. The site includes an online survey whose aim is precisely to listen to these voices, and on the basis of the information obtained, a strategy will be developed that will also involve public and private agents, such as the companies in the areas, starting with those in which the female vocational training students themselves can do their internships or be hired through dual training. The second one will be, well, we have, I cannot expand on the conclusions, but they show, for example, the extent to which it is sometimes the same families, the families themselves, who discourage young people, young girls, from studying some programs, steering them towards what they consider to be safer or more comfortable studies. And there's supposed to be a good reason behind this, because they do not want the daughters to experience being alone or in a bland majority. They don't want them to feel or to be that they are discriminated. So this is the next one. That will be to collect those best practices we hear about and to disseminate them. This is NESCAP. This is another web, another project promoted by associations of vocational training centers, both public, like CASLAN, and private, like ETEL, with the support of the Vice Ministry of Vocational Training of the Basque government. Its primary goal will be to promote gender equality in technology programming and the arts and the STEAM cycles by encouraging the participation and the empowerment of women in these educational programs. The platform also serves to publicize good practices and to give or provide current and realistic references that we are scared of them, of pioneers in vocational training. They can be teachers, they can be instructors, they can be even colleagues, to break this other image of leadership. And finally, not finally of the slides, but to take action. We have chosen some of the devices we have, and this is a self-diagnostic tool for equality. It is an engendering STEAM. It's a project led by the Miguel Altuna Center. Yosune has been director and now is the digital promoter, and it's also an expertise center. And the aim is to advance gender equality in small and medium-sized enterprises in the STEAM industries. It includes this tool named Self-Diagnosis Tool for Equality, and this is aimed to companies. In this way, organizations, not only the training centers, but also the economic and social actors, have the opportunity to actively respond to these voices we have heard about, and to adapt their equality plans accordingly to this. And yes, a final note on the role, we can just bring up the importance of digitalization in this process of women's empowerment towards gender equality, with a conclusion that we will resume that we strongly believe that the process of digital transformation, in which the vocational training centers of the Catalonian, the European, and of course the Basque Country are immersed, can provide women with tools and skills that facilitate their inclusion and their visibility and academic, professional, and even the social participation in this way to the leadership, to the transversal leadership and empowerment. So this is all, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much for that, Esther and Yusune, for preparing that. It's this, actually, I had the pleasure of listening to you before in Brussels, but hearing again, I hear more details, which is always very interesting, particularly the role of the family. But before I get carried away, do you have a question, Oscar, to our Basque colleagues?
Yes, I do. Egunon, Esther and Yosune.
Egunon.
Egunon. That's good morning in Basque for the others. Okay, so yes, the workforce in the Basque Country has traditionally been industrial over the years. Do you think that trait of your society has contributed that the percentage of women in the industrial sector is slightly higher than other regions?
Yes, we think so. We really believe that we are making a huge effort to make our figures to grow up, and this is quite difficult, but there is no doubt. We try to promote the early detection, as you have said also, the early detection of gender stereotypes from an increasingly early age, from the primary school, and there is a kind of, I would say, in the enterprises, a kind of subculture to try to achieve these goals, but it's a long work to be done yet. We have many challenges to face, including, I don't know how to say, not only the industrial effort, which are trying to do, but also, I don't know, the digital effort, including fighting, I don't know, for instance, gender bias in the use of artificial intelligence, which are trying to do. We try to work in a very cooperative way with enterprises, not only with by means of the dual training, also in the curricular practices. We try, it's just an effort, but we are making a big struggle in order to gender policy and gender equality strategies to be shared with instructors and with people in the enterprises too, and in the not only in the enterprises but also in public as private organizations. We try to.
Hey, eskerrik asko.
Sorry.
Perfect, thank you. And having looked at this sort of industry specific approach, we're moving on to our last speakers. And this time we're turning to Brussels, a little bit closer for some of us here. Well, for me, perhaps not for everyone. And we're very excited to have Jessica Delbecq, who's the director of the Experience Design Department at Talent Brussels. She oversees the development of a regional career center and the institution's external communications, and Talent Brussels is a link between the candidates and public employers in the Brussels capital region. And so the question that we'll frame, I suppose, what we're hoping to hear from you is about what can regional authorities do to combat stereotypes working in local authorities. So very linked to this discussion on stereotypes we've been having. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Charlotte, for the introduction. So I will have a look. Do you see my screen? Yes? Do you see
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. I can move it. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Voilà. So I will start with a short introduction of Catalonia and Brussels. So we are a public administration. We were created in 2080. So we only have 6 years of existence. Also, we have another public administration in the Brussels region who was created in 1989. So we are relatively young in our scale. So our mission at Talent, not the Brussels region, at Talent is the recruitment of civil servants and top manager. And we are also a human resources center of expertise for all regional partners. So we are doing recruitment, but also we have a learning direction. I am the director of learning and external communication. And so we provide training to all the public servants in our different institutions. And we have also some other departments as the juridic, I don't know, juridic department, law and so. In Brussels, we are working in different areas, such as environment, mobility, economy, taxes, security. We have also, for the Brussels region, a fire brigade. We have also an urbanism agency, employment, ICT, international relations. We have a lot of competencies. I will start with a few figures from our last study with all our partner institutions. You can see them just here. So we have a repartition of 37% of women, but you can see the repartition within each of our partners is not totally equal. We have a lot of partners. We have more women than men, and then we have some who are really a few numbers of women. The proportion of women continue to increase in Brussels civil services and among them, and the proportion of 25 and 39 years old is higher. But among the men, they are much older. The 40 and 54 years old group is more strongly represented. Also, younger than 5 and 20 years old are more represented with the men with the men population. The structure of age in Brussels personal service, it's the next figure. So, no, it's not that. It's this one. I'm still lost. Okay. So the pyramid of age and the repartition of women and men are similar to the Brussels population as far. Here we have a distribution by educational level and gender. And as you can see, the E level is the university level, or people with a university degree. B is, I don't know how to say in English. It's not university, but just the under. So with 3 years of studies. And C is people who have just finished the general graduates to 80 years old. And D is people with no degrees. So as you can see, we have almost an equality for the three level here. But with people with no degree, we have very, very few women. This is almost people who are working in the property field. So well, people who take the garbage home at home. Okay, there are a lot of people in this company. There are here property Brussels, and we have also in this two category a large people who are working by the firemen or firewomen in the fire brigade. So they are largely represented. So what can I say to? Oh, this is the figures. So what can we do? What can we do to reduce these disparities? And what we do us at Talent as a human resources center. That started with our human resources policy. In the law, we are all men and women equally paid because we have as you, I think, we have we do not trade or salary. This is very specific, and everyone is paid with a barème, I don't know in English, with a certain amount. But we can see that this is the base for the full time, a man and a woman is paid identically, the same. But we can see that the men almost work full time, and the women ask for part time in the moment of their career. So we see the women ask for part time at a different moment of the men. Men is almost at the end of their career, and the women is almost at the moment they become a mother for child support and all those stuff. So what can we do? Not so. We tried to do some things, and one example is the Belgium extended the paternity leave or co-parenting leave from 40 days to 20 days. But in our public service in Brussels, this is 20 paid days. Or in Belgium, this is only 3 days are paid by the employer. And here in the Brussels administration, we paid the 20 days for men or the co-parenting person. Voilà. So we have modified our status or law in the public administration in Brussels. Another way to favorite women in our organization is to training the women's skills, to encourage them to take a management position. We will see some figures after that. We have a certain moment we've noticed that a few women I can show you this. We have here in the university degree level a lot of women, more women than men. And then, as we started to have management position, but middle management, the proportion is reversed. There are more men than women. And then when you are going to the top management level, so here, the proportion is still reduced of women. So what can we do? We tried. We have done a program whose name was boost it's exclusively a training program to women at this level who want, or another one level, you can have a management position as you have no degree, voilà, D2 or C2 or B2. But for all women at different level who is not yet a manager, but who wants to become manager. So it's program just for women with different intervenants or who are also women to share their experiences and give some tips and advice. And it is a safe place to share our preoccupation of questioning over be a woman and a manager. Well, so we've done this. An example, we have also a lot of training program for diversity and diversity and harassment, prevention of harassment and also sexual harassment for all our employees, not only women, of course. It's a prevention program. So we have a third way to work on this, and this is our communication policy, our employer branding policy. So we've made some campaigns based on reverse stereotypes. So as we, speaking of engineers, researching engineers, we share some publicity, some advertising campaign with a woman. Because most of the engineers are men on our public services, and then that can give an image and positive image to women, well, not especially engineer, but maybe also young women. They can see this and identify and maybe give them the envy to purchase scientific studies courses. Well, I don't know. We've also made a series of mini clip video of women working as engineer in the region Brussels. We have some. So we have made some clip video and shared them on our social media. We have started this in 2021, I think, for the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. So we have a lot of interaction on the social media with other agencies and during this day. This was one example. We have another example for the firewomen or firemen recruitment campaign. So with our partners, Pompiers de Bruxelles, donc the firemen or firewomen in Brussels, we share the campaign with this girl, this woman is an actual firewoman, and we have also made some video clips and with her and shared on the social media to attract and encourage some women to participate to the recruitment campaign. And this is our results. We started the campaign, this sort of campaign around 2021, and we can see this is a certain stability, an extremely stability on our department who are working in office. Our file department are here, and we can see some results with the late campaign. They are not spectacular, but they are there. There are some results. I think I've finished. Voilà. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's greatly appreciated. And I think as the time is slightly shorter than originally seen, perhaps we have time for a question and then we'll go to the general Q&A.
Bonjour, good morning, Jessica. You mentioned in one of your slides the concept of glass ceiling.
Yeah.
From your point of view, has this myth, this concept changed in the Brussels region? Is the ceiling higher, lower? How do you see that?
Oh, it's a really complex problematic, the glass ceiling. It changed because we can notice that our most graduated, I don't know, on top manager in the region is a woman since 2 years or 3 years now. And in the new public administrations, as Talent Brussels, we are only 6 years. Our general manager is also a woman. And we can see, I've asked to the team who recruited the top management women, we can see we have more candidates, more women candidates than 10 years before. But the results are not totally still visible because we have still now on the top manager level 4 women, 4 women on 10. So 40%. It's better, but we can also evaluate and change, and we must continue our efforts because this is not yet equality. We have more than 6 women on 10 in the who can have this this job, but only 4 on 10 have them. So we have still some effort to make.
Thank you.
And then now I propose, thank you so much for both your presentation, the excellent questions and the answers. It's been very interesting that we have some questions already in the chat. Maybe if we want to go through those, and then if anyone has any other questions, we can go through them. So maybe, Oscar, if you're willing to still be the question master for the end, you can address them.
Yeah. Let me find the chat. Can't find it now. Sorry. Here it is. Yeah. Okay. I think the first one was from Barbara, and the question was addressed to Escola del Treball, probably. I think. Yeah. Okay. So the question was. This is to Escola del Treball. How was your project being received so far? Any positive results so far?
Yes. Thank you, Barbara, for the question. I think we haven't got any income yet because it's all new. But I think the city is shown, but there's no project yet. But our female students will enter to the primary schools and secondary schools next month, and they will explain directly to the young girl students what they are doing at the Escola del Treball, and we are trying to bring them in March, April to our school to do some activities in our workshops. We think that after that, for the next scholar year, there will be more girls interested in some industrial studies, and we will see it in next September, I think, or before summer, when the students are applying for these studies. But there is no income yet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Albert. Then there aren't any other questions, but there was a comment by Margareta And she mentioned that in Sweden, that is considered very gender equal. I think it's also referring to Barcelona, to Escola del Treball. And also she mentions that in Sweden, girls that, do not like industry and boys do not want to go into care work, for example. And yes, she agrees that this change of mind has to be done in earlier stages, like you mentioned, Albert, like primary or secondary school.
Thank you, Oscar. I agree.
Yeah, and yeah, we've got maybe, I don't know, I'd like to be a bad boy now and play devil's advocate, if I may. Can I do that, Charlotte? Yeah. Just to
always, no
finish
problem.
the session. Yeah. Of course. Well, thank you everybody for your presentations. I think they've all been very inspiring. We've learned many things, and it's very interesting to know how you tackle with these problems and obstacles in your regions. But despite all these campaigns that you mentioned and all this effort that is being done to promote women in industrial jobs and digital jobs, we still see that there's not an exponential growth of the percentages in women. Couldn't that be that women deep down are not interested in industrial and digital sectors? And then if they're not interested, is it worth insisting that they are interested? Sorry to be so provocative.
Who would like to answer our devil's advocate question first? Getia, you have your hand raised, please.
Yeah. I'm not sure they're not interested. I think they haven't. It's something that's goes deep. I think we have never been taught that we could be interested in those fields. I think it's more profound than that. It's just that from a young age, we women have been told that we have to take care of people, that we're bad at math, that we have to be, I don't know, when I speak from the IT point of view, in our school in France, we are told that if we want to go to that kind of field, we have to be good at math, good at physics and biology, for what it's worth. So I just think that it's a bias that school has, that people have, and that we have to fight. But the thing is, the question is, can we fight it at our level, or is it something that we have to do earlier in the formative years of the young girls?
Thank you, Katia. Well, we're 4 minutes past the time that was scheduled to finish. I don't know if you would like to carry on, or shall we call it a day?
I think we have both Lisa put up her hand.
Oh, sorry,
and then
sorry.
Barbara.
I can't see all the participants, so I didn't see that. Sorry.
It's a bit challenging. Perhaps I'll just very briefly, as there's a lot of enthusiastic faces, and that's great, pass the word on to Lisa to answer briefly, and then on to Barbara.
Yes, very briefly to reinforce what Katia has just said. There are bias, and this needs a strong commitment for women to come in those sectors. And for the digital sector, it's an expanding sector, so it's very, very important to our point of view to work on this subject. Voilà.
And then thank you, and perhaps Barbara, if you had your hand raised, if you wanted to say something.
Yes. Hello, this is Barbara from Bergen, Norway. I think that it's not enough to visualize, for example, female engineers, because still girls and female students, they don't know what does it mean. I think we should promote it much more, the advantages of choosing these studies. For example, IT. I'm the mom of a 25-year-old girl who has made her career in IT, and she chose it because she can be a digital nomad now, and she can choose the lifestyle she wants. And I think that is something that we under communicate. I think we should put much more the advantages of choosing these kind of jobs on the agenda. And I think the ambassador network is very good, the peer-to-peer way of working. And lots of young women, they really would like to be independent and have a good lifestyle. And that is I think that is the coming generation. They are much more into how to combine the work-family thing, and it has lots of advantages to, for example, choose digitalization. So that's just a point of view from my side.
Great, thank you. And also, thank you very much for sharing a personal example. It's always interesting and for us to all reflect upon the questions. And so I'd like to conclude the webinar so that we're not taking too much time of your Thursday by just rethanking very much so all of our speakers, Oscar, of course, as our question master, and sharing with you just the next activities of the Gender Equality Task Force that are coming up, as this was, of course, within that frame. So if you're interested in more webinars or work on these kind of topics, then please feel free to send us an email at gendertforce@gmail.com, which is our central email for our gender equality task force run by us 3 organizations. We will also be running a social media campaign on the 24th of January about the International Day of Education from a gendered perspective. Also on the 8th of March is the International Women's Day, and the 25th of April is the Women in ICT Day. And we will be carrying out later on in the year, in the autumn, a workshop on gender and well-being in vocational educational training, and on violence and gendered bullying in the classroom. So it was a pleasure to have you all here. It was fantastic to see new faces as well to the task force. Thank you very much to Jessica, to Esther, to Lisa, Katia, to Elizabeth from the team from Centre Val de Loire, from Yosune, Albert, and Laura. I think I've remembered everyone. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we'll be sending out the slides with the presentations to all participants as well. So thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Charlotte.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bon, pas trop mal.
Pas trop mal, ça va? Ok, super. Juste, c'était un plaisir. Merci beaucoup de toute la préparation que vous avez fait.